I want to kind of just try to summarize what I provided in my written outline, which deals with the problem of lost educational opportunities, what I feel are the opportunities with these students, and then the benefits. Earlier it was mentioned that our public schools are failing these students. I think that it's a little unrealistic for us to imagine that our public schools that service approximately 50 million students annually, of which roughly 14% or well over 6 million are diagnosed with learning and behavior difficulties. It's sort of hard to imagine that they could really be satisfactorily serving all of those students, and that's where alternative education settings come in, and that's of course what I'll try to focus on. Now, last year these alternative schools and juvenile justice facilities, and I was very glad to hear the acknowledgement that we don't even have good data on how many students, for example, are in juvenile justice schools. I have worked with that over a number of years, and that's certainly something we need to improve. But last year, approximately 1 million youth were in alternative schools or in juvenile justice schools. And these programs are woefully inadequate. There's differences among these schools. Some are better than others. But again, I think we've had a historical pattern which has been that this population has generally been viewed as disposable. That's been the history. Even with the development of the juvenile court at the turn of the 20th century, we had rhetoric that called for education, but the reality, as all of you know, was those teachers that found themselves in these alternative settings tended to be those often who couldn't make it in the public school settings. So we have had this problem. And so what results from all of this? Well, many of these 1 million or more students fall through the cracks. And they do become disproportionately involved in crime, in chemical abuse, or unemployment. And it's estimated that for each youth that does fall into this pattern, that's going to cost this country $2.2 million. $2.2 million. But the opportunity that I have seen in my last 11 years in Florida is primarily what I'm here to tell you about. Florida had the Bobby M. consent decree, and in the early 90s established a very strong quality assurance and research system for its juvenile justice schools, and I've been a part of that for 11 years, and it's been one of the most amazing projects that I've ever been involved with in my entire 36 academic and research career. The children in Florida's juvenile justice schools, there's approximately 200 schools. On any given day, 10,000 youth are incarcerated in those schools. These kids are anywhere from 3 to 6 years behind in their age grade placement. Chronic histories of suspension, expulsion, and dropout. Disproportionately, roughly 50% or more are formally designated with learning or behavior difficulties, compared to about 10 to 12% in Florida's public schools. So clearly a very high-risk population to deal with. But nonetheless, what we've done since 1998, we've developed standards, education standards for these schools. We've gone in annually. We've assessed those standards to make sure that the programs are fulfilling what it is they're supposed to be fulfilling. But it's not merely a gotcha. We also stop, take a breath, and then meet with the teachers, meet with the principals, meet with the custodial staff, and say, here are the steps that are needed to improve these schools. So it brings in kind of a moral authority involved in what we're doing, because the teachers really care, and many of the teachers really thank us for what we're doing for them. Furthermore, each year we pull all the key actors together throughout the state of Florida, and we assess where we are in juvenile justice ed. And each year we continuously raise the bar. We require more, not less, because this population needs more, not less. We have 2 major longitudinal cohorts of 4,000 and 6,000 kids. Some of these kids have been out 6 years. Those kids that academically achieve disproportionately return to school. And if they return to school, their likelihood of rearrest drops precipitously. This is something that works in changing the life course of these children. This program can work. Now, in terms of the benefits are numerous. Crime is estimated to cost this country $1 trillion a year. Yes, $1 trillion. That's just more money than I can imagine. And what I've done in the handout, I've provided you some cost estimates if you look at the benefits that can be accrued with different proportions of these 1 million kids changing their life course. That's also in the billions of dollars. But the bottom line is you can't simply mandate these 3 best practices that you've all heard before: qualified teachers, individualized curriculum, and transition. These are the 3 best practices areas, but again, that is something that's going to have to be evaluated, and I see I've already overdone my time. Sorry.